Hi, welcome back. So what we're going to do today in this video is we're going to go ahead and continue with the companion project. And here you can see we've got our Papa Bear and our baby bear. Well, I'm really not quite a baby, but they're on their way for a little hike. And he's got a picnic basket and he's got a little explorer pack on his shoulder here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start the rendering. So what I've done is I've gone ahead and created a small limited palette of colors. And I also have my Sharpie pen. Again, this is the Mono Twin pen by Tombow. Again, it's a great pen. It's a great substitute for the Sharpie because it has both the ultrafine and the fine nib pen. Okay. So before I usually start on a rendering like this, I want to kind of go over some of the basic forms that we've got to render, because when you look at this sketch, there's a lot of things going on, right? There's a lot of compound curves. What I do here is I'm going to go ahead and push these markers off to the side. Okay, and just kind of share with you the process. Now what I did here was, before I started thinking about the rendering, I need to kind of control my colors. So what I did here was I went ahead and just pulled down an array of colors that I think I might be using. And when I look at the Papa Bear, a little bit older, a little more mature, maybe I'm going to use more subdued colors on this character. And then maybe on the younger a baby bear, or I'm going to use more bright colors. And what that does, it gives us a little bit more of a separation with regards to contrast, right? We want to try to continue the idea of contrast in our rendering, but we also want to kind of keep the colors working together with regards to warm and cool colors. Okay. So before we really get deep into rendering here in color, right, I mentioned earlier about breaking it down into geoprimitive forms. So what I did here was I took the drawing, okay, again, I'm going to be kind of popping in and out of the frame here as I adjust the canvas as I'm coloring. But what I did was I went ahead and broke down all the geoprimitive forms that I could so that I can start to analyze. And this is something that I highly suggest. It's not a bad idea to do. I would probably recommend doing is to just limit your palette to maybe 2 values of one color. In this case, I'm going with a kind of a tan saddle color. It's also going to give me a little heads up as regards to what it's going to look like on the bear. And then if I want to go ahead and shade these colors, I go in with, because these are warm tones, I'm going to go in with some warm grays. I pulled out a warm gray 3 and a warm gray 5, and I think that range is going to help me really give me the right values if I need that extra bit more of contrast. Okay. So let's just focus on these saddle colors, okay? Let me see if I can zoom in and so you guys get a little closer look at what's happening, all right? So I'm just going to go ahead and zoom in just a little bit more. Okay, just a little bit, not too much. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the lighter tan color. And again, as you know, it's always best to work with the broad nib. And you guys remember the first rule when it comes to rendering is you want to select your light source. So I'm going to come in from the left side. Okay, I'll try to keep that consistent as I'm going through the entire rendering. All right. And I'll probably just do a couple, and then we'll end the video there, and then I'll pick it up and do the other parts. All right. So what you always want to do when you're doing a rendering with regards to compound shapes is you want to work from the core shadow. Basically, you want to work from the darkest part of the rendering back towards the highlight. So when I do this, it's going to allow me to kind of build up gradually. And because we're using the one marker technique, maybe two, okay, it's going to allow us to keep a nice even value distribution. All right. So when I look at this bear, I look at the ears, and it's probably going to be shadows on the downturned parts of the ear. And then when I look at the muzzle, the mouth of the bear, it's going to take on this kind of crescent shape. Remember how we talked about how some of these shapes remind us of maybe an elongated sphere, right? So that's what I see going on there. And then as it's kind of moving up this top surface, that core shadow continues up, right? And then when I look at the bear's face, in this case, it's going to kind of have a very flat facet. So what that means, it's going to have like a brow and an actual indentation for the face. So I see that as a kind of a nice solid form cutting in through this ellipsoid shape. And then I'll just carefully rotate my marker so I have a little more control. I'll just go ahead and continue that core shadow all the way up. Okay. And when I'm done with that, I'll just go ahead and strengthen that shape. Okay. You see how much nicer that looks? You can really kind of see the shape of the bear's face, even without having going through it a second time. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go back over the whole thing one more time with the same marker. Okay. So we'll start with the core, and you'll scrub. You'll go ahead and do a scrubbing motion, and work towards a highlight. Okay. And I see the highlight being right across his forehead, right about there. Okay. Now remember the ears. All right. So you can see a distribution of value here. You get a much darker tone here where we've originally put in the core, and then you see it down here in the bottom part of his face. But then when we go over a second time, and then we go over the unmarkered areas, you can see the halftone developing. See? Okay. That's very, very subtle, and you get the big highlight here. All right. So let's move over to the other head. Okay, this one's a lot rounder, so we're going to do the same thing. So it's much rounder, so we're definitely going to extend the core shadow so it kind of spends a little more time at the bottom. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and do the things we'll do the same thing with the ears. We'll make those concave. We'll come back over and marker in the underside. Okay. And now, why we were able to do this is because it's much rounder. It didn't have as much detail as this face. Okay. So once we were happy with the value distribution for the core shadows, we go in once again, and then we scrub. Okay, look at the circular motion I do with my markers. This is called scrubbing. And we're going to scrub the whole thing. Okay, that gives us a little texture. Okay, and we'll go in another time right about here to get the halftone. Okay, and there you have it. Okay, so you have a core, halftone, scrub, and you do that another time, another pass, and then you leave this lighter section that has a little bit of texture to become your highlight. All right. So this concludes this video, and what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and on my next video pick up where I left off, and we'll finish off these other parts of the body, the torso, the limbs, right, and then the basket. All right. So stay tuned.